Hi everyone, in this video I just want to show you a few iPad tips that you may or may not already know, but just some things that will help you use your iPad in a different way. The first one I want to do is called the Zoom controller. We're going to use the Zoom controller to act as a kind of a pointer device. So you can imagine that if you're airplaying your iPad to your projector or anything like that, and you're trying to show students where they're supposed to click or put their fingers or anything like that, if they won't see where your finger is on the screen. But with a Zoom controller, you can kind of guide them to where you want them to go. So we're going to go to Settings, and then General, and then Accessibility, and then Zoom right here. And we're going to turn this on. Now don't freak out, you might get this huge Zoom controller right here, but I'm going to show you how we kind of resize it and work with it. So you're going to click the little bar on the bottom of that Zoom controller. And for this, I don't actually want to zoom in right now, so I'm going to zoom out. And I'm also going to choose to resize the lens. I'm just going to drag it so that it's actually kind of a tiny lens right here. So by tapping on this little bar at the bottom of the Zoom controller, I can change those settings. I could choose to put on this show controller right here, and this just, instead of actually moving the Zoom controller itself, I'm just using this as a controller to move it. So that's your choice of what you would like to do right there. So we have that, and some things that you might want to do with it is that you might want to add this to your control center. So your control center is when you swipe up from the bottom and you have all of these different things right here. You can add more options right here so that you can easily access those. So we're going to go to Customize Controls, and on this one I am going to put on here Accessibility Shortcuts. I'm going to click the plus right there. Okay. Now some things that I could do with my accessibility shortcuts is that if I go to General and Accessibility, and I go down to this accessibility shortcut at the very bottom, this basically changes, this is the triple click the home button. This is what happens when I click the home button 3 times really quickly. I can choose what I want here. And so for mine, I set it up to zoom so that I can just kind of open it up really easily. But if I swipe up and go to my accessibility right here, I have this zoom added right here. So I can just click right here to get that controller off and on. So it's a little handy, like if I'm on here and I tell my students, go to grade 3 math, and it looks like this, I can hover over here so they know what they're looking for. The second option is recording your screen and narrating. So right now I'm doing a screen recording. So I have my screen and you're seeing it and you're hearing my voice as well. So this can be helpful if you want to make videos for your students so that they have some directions or a video to follow so they know how to get to an app and they have an example of what they're supposed to do. You can use this as well. You can also have your students do it to kind of document their learning as well. So if they're in an app and you want them to make a screencast telling you how they're working through this app and how they're learning, you can do things like that as well. So I've added this shortcut to my control center, just like I showed you before, but it is called screen recording right here. And so it's this button. If right now I'm in the middle of a recording, so it's a red, but if you were not in a recording, it would just be white like this. And you can tap it to start recording your screen, but if you tap and hold, you'll be able to turn on or off narration. So if you don't need to be speaking with it, you can turn that off right there. So once you see that, there's going to be a red bar up here that lets you know that you're recording. And so when you're finished, you just click that red bar and it will ask you if you want to save, and that will save it right into your photos. Speaking of photos, we're going to go look at a photo because you have some built-in annotating and drawing options within a photo. So let's imagine that you're taking your iPads out and you're working outside and you want students to start taking pictures of different things, whether that's animals they're finding or flowers or different things like that. And then you want them to come back when you're in class, you want them to be able to label these parts. Well, we can do that by editing a photo. So I have a photo right here. I'm just going to click the edit button up here. And then I am going to go down to my 3 dots at the very bottom right there. Oops, sorry. And I'm going to click markup. And then this will turn off the live photo. So now I have all of these options right here to mark this up. So I could take a marker with blue and say, look at that, look at that smile. Okay, or I can delete things. I could select different areas to do different things with, and I could also add text or shapes or speech bubbles or anything like that. And when I click done, that photo then gets saved into my library with those markups, and so I could turn that in wherever it's needed. Another great thing with the camera tool, some of you may have had a QR code scanner, but recently Apple decided to put this into their camera app so that you don't need a separate app to scan QR codes. So just by going to the camera, I can open up my camera and I'm going to look at some QR codes right here. So if I scan a QR code, you'll notice up in the top it says this is where it's going to get me to. So if I scan the QR code and I want to go to that place, all I have to do is click and it will open that up for me right there. So a QR code scanner built right in. And then the last thing that I want to do is we will go back to that we'll go back to a web page. We'll just go to this web page right here. But I want to show you the option to find keywords on a web page in Safari. So if you didn't know, if you're on a computer like a Chromebook, a Mac, or a PC, and you find a web page, and whether it's on a web browser or even if it's in a document, you can use the shortcut Control F or Command F, which stands for find. So you'll be able to type a word and it will search through that document or that website and find that word. It will tell you how many times it appears and you'll be able to go to that place right away. So that's helpful if you're in a website and you're like, oh, where's this section I need to go, and you can't find it. You can do a Control F and be able to find where that word is. But obviously we don't have that keyboard right here. So what you're going to do instead is you're going to go to the share button right here, this little arrow right here. You click that and you go down here and you swipe to the left. You'll notice there's this find on page. If I click that and type in what I want to find, like QR, okay, it says we're on number 2 of 54 matches right here, and you can see that it zoomed in and highlighted that for me. Maybe I see, okay, that's not what I want. Okay, there's another one. Okay, there's another one over there. There's another one. And so it helps me find the information that I'm looking for more quickly. So that will definitely save you and your students time being able to do that. So those are just 5 quick tips for you. Hope you're able to teach those to your students as well, and that they're able to use these effectively and efficiently.